I'd like to know, what is the incentive for somebody like myself to continue living in Greenwich, a town who pays 14% of the tax of all of Connecticut, Fairfield County, who provides more than 50% of the tax revenue to the state? What's my incentive to live here? Why not move to Florida?
I work in the automotive industry, and just want to make sure that your budget process is really thought through the ramifications of doing away with the trade-in incentive, and also the 3% increase on vehicles over $50,000. I think you're going to see is that people won't be able to get as much credit as they've gotten in the past because they won't have that incentive to trade their car in, which in turn you have a lot of transactions that are done private owner to private owner, and you have a safety risk where the cars are not inspected, which they are at a dealership, and in turn you have revenue because the car came through the system. You can get more money for the car and raise the sales tax. The other thing you're going to see is that, as in Vermont, actually in Maine, they repealed the trade-in incentive, and within a short period of time, they had legislation where they repealed that again because it was actually a revenue loss to the state. So I think that, and also where you have customers who, $50,000, I mean, that's a middle-class family buying a Tahoe, a Chevrolet Tahoe to take their kids to soccer or wherever, you know, are going to feel the pinch also. And you're going to drive people, I think, out of the state. In the long run, I won't be able to hire technicians, salespeople, F&I people, so a lot of jobs will be lost.
Governor Cuomo has an overall deficit of $10.5 billion. You inherited one of $3.5 billion. Governor Cuomo says that he will reduce that deficit and there will be no new taxes. I don't understand the equation.
Many here tonight may or may not know that among all of the 50 states, Connecticut ranks #1 in debt, number 50 in job creation, number 47 of 50 in business taxation. It gets 40% of its taxes from 1.5% of its residents. The 2009 state and local tax burden puts residents at the 3rd highest taxations of all states. And the proposed budget, despite talks of budget cuts, this budget increases spending by $454 million. According to your own Office of Fiscal Analysis, this budget relies heavily on assumptions. They are problematic union concessions, continuous taxation revenues from a finite taxation base that will probably move out of state, and continuous recovery of the stock market in a very unstable world economy. You've called for sacrifice, and your budget makes us deliver, especially in Fairfield County. But there's been no acknowledgement that Connecticut taxpayers have been sacrificing for years, seeing 85% of their property taxes going to support personnel-related expenses, in addition to dealing with decreased retirement accounts and increased utility, health, tuition, and inflationary cost of living expenses. Your budget implements multitudinous new taxes, of which there has been no discussion of sunsetting, and the real clarity of the 30% reduction in government agency nets a decrease of 150 employees out of 47,000. I can't say that I fully understand the particulars of this proposed budget, but when the Connecticut Hospital Association states that your proposed 5.5% hospital tax will hurt every hospital in Connecticut, I have to listen, and I hope you are listening too.
Healthcare right now is like a bleeding artery. The system is broken. The taxes that you are proposing are just going to open up this artery wider. I work in an area of Greenwich Hospital for the last 22 years that does not make money. It's actually a loser for the hospital. How do I go and tell my patients that we probably will no longer be able to deliver that type of care, such as cardiac and pulmonary rehab, because of the taxes that you're imposing and then the inequity across the board?
And I ask you to tell me, a doctor caring for the sickest in this community, what should I tell my patients when the consequences of this legislation are evident? When they have reduced access to new procedures, diagnostic testing, and supportive services? Do I tell my patients that this is a decision of their elected officials? That despite their illness, they have a duty for shared sacrifice? Is this the future of medical care in Greenwich? Governor, what should I tell them?